It was supposed to be a quiet night. I was on a night shift moving through the ward with the kind of tired routine you fall into after years of doing the same job in the same fluorescent light. I'd just finished securing a temporary wrap around a patient's arm and nodded to the nurse who came to help me. Everything was ordinary, everything was fine. Then they brought in Emily. She came in on a stretcher, pushed by 3 police officers, moving fast through the front doors. It was raining like hell that night, not the kind of rain that passes, the kind that feels like it's been there forever and isn't planning to leave. She was 13, maybe 14, fragile. Her body was covered in dried dirt and dark blood. Her left arm showed a deep bruise spreading from her wrist all the way up to her elbow. There were abrasions on her legs and her shoulder, like she'd been dragged or thrown across rough ground. She was completely unconscious, completely soaked. I gripped the side of the stretcher as we moved toward the emergency room. "What happened?" I asked. The officer in front of us was a heavy-set man with a tired face. His badge read, Harris, detective. He was flipping through a small notebook without looking up at me. "The girl called 911 reporting a break-in," he said. "She locked herself in her bedroom. When we arrived, we found her unconscious on the ground outside, in the backyard." He paused. But the worst was inside the house. I was cutting the sleeve of her shirt with my scissors when I asked what he meant. He finally looked at me. His voice was completely calm. The voice of someone who sees things like this every week. "The girl's parents were dead in the bedroom," he said. "Bruises around the neck, broken nails, signs of a struggle. There was water everywhere too. We still don't understand that part." I pressed gauze against the wound on her arm. The skin was scraped and split, swollen from impact, consistent with a fall. "Looks like she fell from something," I said. "Her room is on the 2nd floor, right above where we found her," Harris replied. "She probably tried to get away from someone." "And did you catch who did it?" He hesitated, just for a second, like he was solving something in his head before he spoke. "Things don't make much sense right now," he said. "No signs of forced entry, no indication anyone else was inside the house. The family had security cameras outside. That should tell us something." We moved Emily into an observation room, just the 3 of us. Me, Harris, and the nurse setting up the IV. Harris stepped away from the bed and stood near the wall, writing in his notebook. Fast, focused. And then Emily moved. Still unconscious. A low sound slipped from her mouth, barely a murmur. "Big brother is here, don't let him in." Nobody said anything for a moment. I kept working. I told myself it was fever talk. Trauma. The things people say when they're somewhere between conscious and not. I told myself that. I'd had almost 2 cups of coffee before the nurse appeared at my side. "She's awake." I expected to find a frightened child. Tears, confusion, the usual aftermath of shock. Instead, Emily was sitting perfectly upright in bed, still. Her eyes were fixed on the window where the rain was still hammering the glass like it had something to prove. Her hands were clenched tight in her lap. Harris was already inside the room, standing uncomfortably close to her, notebook open. I stepped between them and told him that was enough, that she was a patient and a minor. Harris closed his notebook with a quiet snap and left. She kept staring at the window, fists still closed. I noticed her glance toward a small stack of books left at the far end of the room by some previous patient. I brought them to her. She opened one immediately. Something shifted in her face, a small, genuine flicker of curiosity. She told me about the books she loved, how much she enjoyed science fiction, how the new school her father had moved her to didn't have a library anywhere near as big as the last one. "My big brother was the one who gave me my first books," she said suddenly. "That's when I started reading science fiction." "Who is your big brother?" I asked. She was quiet for a few seconds. "He's my brother," she said carefully. "He's not here anymore, but he still talks to me a lot. Sometimes he's nice. Sometimes he's not nice. Sometimes he does bad things, especially when he sees that I'm angry." "Like what kind of bad things?" She didn't look up from the book. "Like what he did today to Dad and Mom." I talked with her a little longer, though she didn't come back to what she'd just said. Then I stepped out into the hallway. Harris was at the nurse's station, eyes wide and focused in a way that made me uneasy. "The cameras don't show anyone entering the house," he said. "None of it makes sense." "She's been in long-term psychiatric care since she was 9, he continued. "And she was expelled from her last school for a violent incident." My stomach tightened. "She's just a kid," I said. "She wouldn't have the physical strength to harm 2 adults." "I'm not saying she did it," he snapped back. "But something about this big brother thing doesn't add up." His phone rang. He walked away. I agreed something felt wrong, but I had other patience. I pushed it aside. It was about an hour before I made it back to Emily's room. She was alone, still reading. The rain hadn't let up. I remember thinking I'd never seen a child handle grief so quietly. Then Harris stormed in, eyes sharp. Emily lowered her head the moment she saw him. "Did you try to strangle a girl at your school, Emily?" he asked, standing too close. "Is that why you were expelled?" "He did it," she said quietly, her voice breaking just slightly. "My big brother?" I raised my voice and stepped between them. He pulled back. Then his voice went soft in a way that felt more dangerous than when it was hard. "Andre, right?" he said. "Your big brother's name, the one who died 5 years ago in the lake." Emily froze. "Her older brother," Harris said, "drowned at Lake Sammamish one summer." "Emily, you've been hearing him ever since, haven't you?" Tears finally fell from her eyes. "No," Emily interrupted, lifting her face. "Let him stay. I'll tell him everything." She shook her head. "I have to," she said. "I'll tell it now." I swallowed hard. I caught the look on Harris's face as I left the room. I didn't like it at all. I was in the break room, 3rd cup of coffee, listening to the rain outside when the thunder came, rolling slow and heavy past the windows. A few lights flickered. Then they went out. The blackout lasted less than a minute before the backup generator kicked in. The lights returned, dimmer than before, some of them still flickering. I walked back through the corridor toward Emily's room. Something was wrong immediately. I could see it before I even reached the door. Her room was completely dark. I opened the door. Something cold and wet soaked into my shoes the moment I stepped inside. There were a couple of inches of water covering the entire floor. Emily was still on the bed. Her face was locked in an expression I don't know how to describe. Pure, silent terror. She was looking at me like she was desperately trying to warn me, but she didn't need to say a word, because I saw it. On the floor, Detective Harris. He was lying in a spreading pool of water, completely still. His eyes were bulged open, staring at nothing. His neck was bent at an angle so extreme, it made my stomach turn before I could look away. I wanted to scream for help. The word was right there. But Emily spoke first. "Stay quiet," she whispered, "or he'll touch you." I wanted to ask who. The words wouldn't come. And then I felt it. Something behind me, pressed against the wall near the door I'd just walked through. Its shadow stretched across the wet floor. Tall, wide. Slowly I turned. It was pale, towering over me by more than 5 feet. Its shape was vaguely human, but its limbs were too long, too thin. Wrong in a way that your brain registers before you can name it. No hair, no clothing. Water dripped from its body in a constant, quiet stream. Its torso was tangled with algae and freshwater plants. Its eyes were white, empty, unblinking. "Don't hurt him, Andre," Emily whispered to it. Her voice was very small. "Please? He's a good one. I'll go with you this time." It didn't respond. It just kept staring at me. Those white eyes not moving, not blinking. "Walk slowly to the door," Emily said. "He won't hurt you if you do just that." "I can't just leave you with it," I said, the last piece of courage I had. A low, wet growl filled the room. The thing didn't like that. Every cell in my body understood what it wanted to do to my neck. "He won't hurt me," Emily said. "He just wants to protect me. Please, go." I knew I couldn't do anything. Staying would only get me killed. So I did what she said. Step by step, I moved toward the door, turned the handle, and stepped back into the hallway. The thing let me go. Its white eyes followed me every inch of the way. The moment the door closed behind me, I ran. I ran harder than I have ever run, straight to the head nurse's station, shouting for her to call security and the police. Then I turned around, legs shaking, and made myself walk back toward Emily's room. I stopped at the frame and looked inside carefully. Emily was no longer on the bed. I stepped inside. Emily wasn't in the room. Neither was that thing. On the bed, resting on the blanket exactly where she had been sitting, was the book I'd given her. The window she had stared at all night was open, rain blowing in, wide open. I knew something was off the moment I saw the place. We'd been driving through a neighborhood that our rusty old Honda CR-V felt completely out of place in. After a final turn, the house appeared at the end of a lane, far enough from the other homes to feel somehow separate, like it had been deliberately kept apart from everything else. It was tall, old, well kept in a way that felt proud rather than maintained. Nestled right into an evergreen wood at the edge of the neighborhood, it looked like the last piece of civilization before a wilderness that just kept going. I leaned forward between the front seats and gasped. "That is our new house?" My dad chuckled. "It is, Ari." My little sister Lena squealed in excitement. She had no idea she'd soon never want to sleep alone again in her life. The first few days were fine. The inside of the house was as old and proud as the outside, and twice as spacious as anywhere we'd lived before. It did smell, though, a sour, pervasive reek that clung to everything. My mom explained that was the main reason we'd gotten such a discount. Our dogs, Chiefy and Miss Bear, ran up and down the halls all day, leaving mud everywhere. At night, they'd growl at the house, at the creaking and moaning the old building made when wind came in off the woods. I told myself they just needed time to adjust. The first thing that really unsettled me was Kai. My typically quiet little brother was mumbling through the walls, constantly, and I couldn't hear anyone else with him. My mom eventually asked him, "Kai, sweetie, what are you saying? Are you talking to yourself?" He looked up at her, genuinely confused. "No, Mommy, I'm talking to my friend." My mom shot a look at my dad, one of those loaded parent looks that meant more than I could understand at the time. "Who's your friend?" she asked. He shrugged, eyes fixed on his toy blocks. "I don't know." A week passed, then two, and still the dogs wouldn't settle at night. What really got to me was Miss Bear. She was sleeping at the foot of my bed one night when she started growling at the wall. My wall. The one shared with Kai's room. It wasn't even a windy night. Just silence and her growling at nothing I could see. "Enough!" I hissed. She looked at me, then back at the wall, and let out a sharp single bark. Then she yelped, backed away fast, tail between her legs, hackles raised. Whatever creepy feeling I'd been carrying around the house shot straight up into something I didn't have a clean name for. She bolted out of my room and straight toward Kai's door. I followed her. Kai was awake, sitting on his bed, facing our shared wall. "It's okay," he said softly to the dogs. "It was just my friend." The next day, I moved the dresser in my room and found a stain behind it, old and brown, low on the wall just above the baseboards, but it might have once been red. It ran down in rivulets like something thick had splattered there and slowly dripped. I pushed the dresser back and got on with my day. That afternoon, my sister told me the house was scary. "It feels like we aren't the only ones living here," she said. That night, one of the dogs woke me up sniffing at my feet. I nudged it off, fell back to sleep, and then Lena screamed. Not a little scream, the kind that tells you immediately that something is very wrong. I was in her room before I'd fully woken up. She was sitting up in bed, back pressed hard against the wall, blanket pulled up to her eyes. Those wide, bright, terrified eyes that weren't looking at me, they were looking past me, at the corner of the room. She whispered, "Someone behind you?" Slowly, I turned around. In the darkness of that corner, I thought I saw, I'm still not sure, but I think it was a woman or a girl. naked and bloodstained. No face, except for the shine of two pale irises in the dark. I screamed. Lena joined me. My dad hit the light. The room flooded bright and the corner was just a corner. Empty. Normal. Except, I saw it then. Old stains, low on the wall. The same kind as behind my dresser. My mom appeared in the doorway and shared a look with my dad that sent ice straight down my spine. That look scared me more than anything else that night. The next day, Kai walked up to my mom in the kitchen and said very quietly, "Can we go back to our old house?" Mom looked down at him. "Why do you want to go back, sweetie?" "I don't want to talk to him anymore," Kai whispered. A horror passed over my mother's face. My dad put his hands on the counter and bowed his head. My parents sent Kai to watch TV with Lena, then they told me the truth. The smell wasn't the only reason the house had been so cheap. The family who last lived in that house, they were killed right there in those walls, and the father of that family was the one who'd done it, after which he killed himself. I sat down in one of the dining chairs, shaking. I thought about the stains, the brown rivulets that had once been red. The peace broke again when Kai started crying. He was sitting cross-legged on the floor, face in his palms. "He came back," Kai said. "Who came back?" "My friend," he started, then stopped. "The scary man." His hand shook as he pointed at our shared wall. That night I let him sleep in my room. A few hours in, one of the dogs started sniffing at my foot, then licking. "Stop," I groaned. "Cut it out. Go." It listened, panted for a moment, then stepped away, and then I remembered. I had asked Kai to close the door, specifically so the dogs wouldn't get in. I sat up fast, turned to look at the door, closed. "Chiefy?" I whispered. "Miss Bear?" Silence. No dog in the room. I stood in the middle of my room, heart hammering. I lifted my foot. It was damp. The turning point came during one of my daily walks. One of the neighbors was standing by his mailbox, closer than any of them had ever been. He told me the truth the police reports had buried. The wife and the 2 children were killed. The father was never found. "Sometimes," the man said, leaning closer, "our cameras catch footage of what looks like a ragged man moving around the neighborhood in the dark." I looked back at the house. My parents had gone out. Kai and Lena were home alone. I ran back home. I led my siblings to Kai's room and asked him to show me where the scary man had been. He raised his arm to point. Nausea swept over me. He wasn't pointing at the wall. He was pointing at the vent. I grabbed it by the sides and pushed, pulled. It didn't move. I pushed harder. A groan passed through the wall, and then the vent gave way. Not just the vent. A square section of wall swung inward with it. Cobwebs and dust puffed out. The sour reek hit me like a wave. What I'd assumed was solid wall between my room and Kai's was actually a gap, wide enough for someone to squeeze through. "Stay here," I told my siblings, and I crawled in. I moved through until I was behind the vent opening into my own room. I pushed it open. And peering out, the first thing I saw was the foot of my bed. My feet. Right there. Where something had been licking them in the night. And then, from the far end of the crawl space, I heard it. A sighing sound. Soft at first. Then it got louder. I froze. Every muscle locked. I slowly turned my head toward the far end of the gap. Dark. Very dark. I squinted, and then I saw it. Half a face peering out from that corner. One bloodshot eye. Pallid, withered skin. A grin of rotten, twisted teeth. A scraggly, bony hand clutching the wall. Started to laugh. I threw myself backwards, screaming so hard my throat would hurt for days. I grabbed my siblings' hands and we ran. Down the stairs, through the hall, out the front door. That laughter chased us all the way out, and I swear I heard scurrying footsteps behind us in the walls. The father who had slaughtered his family had never died. He had been living there, inside the walls. inside the earth beneath our feet. The whole time. We moved out immediately, not just to a new house, to a new city. We have reinforced windows and doors now. We watch anyone who passes by our house the same way our old neighbors used to watch us. But it's not enough, because the man who haunted us was never caught. He is still out there. Kai still talks about his friends sometimes. My mom checks the pantry and fridge every single day. My dad can't see dirt on the floor without losing it. And me? I wake up at least 3 times a week with the awful sense that something has been licking my feet. I think my wife changed the lock while I was at work. The key won't turn. I jiggle it again, the familiar brass cool against my fingers. Click, click. Nothing. Just resistance, where there should be the easy slide of the deadbolt. I've used this key 1,000 times, and right now, groceries in one arm, briefcase tucked tight, half asleep after a long day at work, I am not amused. Emily? I call, giving the solid oak door a knock. Hey, the lock's being weird. Did you deadbolt it funny again? Silence from within. I peer through the narrow leaded glass window beside the door. Emily is standing in the hall, frozen halfway between the living room and the kitchen. She isn't moving toward the door. She's staring at me. Her face is bone white, her eyes wide and unblinking, fixed on mine through the distorted glass. She looks like she's seen a ghost. Emily? What's wrong? I knock harder, a flicker of unease tightening in my chest. Emily, hey, are you okay? Let me in, please. It's me, it's Ben. I rattle the handle, panic rising now, all my focus on her. A choked sob escapes her, her hand flying to her mouth. Tears well and spill over, tracking paths through her pallor. Still, she doesn't move toward the lock. Emily, please! I hammer on the wood now. Open the door, talk to me, what happened? She flinches like she's been struck, stumbling back a step. No, she whispers, shaking her head. No, this isn't possible. My heart kicks hard. Emily, honey, what's going on? I press my face closer to the door, voice low, urgent. Open the door, please, let me help you. She backs further into the shadows, her hands trembling at her sides. No, she says again, firmer this time. You can't be here. Emily, I say softly, it's Ben. Just open the door, please. She snaps then, her voice sharp and panicked. You're not Ben. Ben is dead. Silence slams between us. Her voice, when it returns, is a thin, broken whisper, barely audible through the thick wood. You died, Ben, 6 months ago. Another sob tears through her. We mourned you. I mourned you. 6 months. The impossibility of it slams into me. I remember yesterday morning, kissing her sleep-warm cheek, the smell of her shampoo, the mundane argument about whose turn it was to take out the recycling. I remember today, the commute, the tedious budget meeting. Emily, that's insane. I'm right here. Look at me. I saw you this morning. I'm real. You look like him, she weeps, her voice thick with revulsion now, cutting through the fear. You sound almost like him, but you're not Ben. Her terror isn't hysterical. It's cold, absolute, and utterly devastating. Please, just go away. Whatever you are, leave us alone. Please. And then she turns. Her footsteps echo down the hall, leaving me stranded, exiled on the porch of my own home. My breath stutters, my fingers go numb. I drop the groceries without realizing, plastic bags splitting, cans rolling across the stoop. I dig in my pocket for my phone, hands trembling, but it isn't there. Of course it isn't there. Where the hell is it? Help! I shout, turning to the street. Somebody, please! I need help! Windows glow warmly in the distance. Cars pass. No one answers. I sprint down the sidewalk, nearly tripping on the curb, and tear across the block toward Mike's house. My oldest friend, the only person who might make sense of this. The porch light is off. I pound on the door with both fists. Mike, open up, it's Ben. Emily's not okay, she's saying crazy things. Please, man, I don't know what's going on. The living room curtain twitches. A sliver of Mike's face appears, pale, strained, eyes wide and bloodshot. The porch light flicks on. The door cracks open, and there's Mike, standing barefoot in the doorway, blinking against the glare. I open my mouth to tell him all that happened, but the look on his face stops me cold. It isn't confusion, it isn't disbelief. It's pure, unadulterated horror, the same look Emily wore. He sees me. His lips press into a thin, bloodless line, and the door snaps shut. Mike, don't do this! I roar, slamming my fist against the wood. It's me! His voice, shrill with panic, comes from an upstairs window. Stay away! I'm calling them! I'm calling the police! Get off my property! The window slams shut. That's when I hear the sirens. Faint at first, then rising into a full, shrieking wail that floods the street. Red and blue lights strobe across the trees, the houses, my face. 2 cruisers skid to a stop, blocking my car. The officers step out, hands hovering near their holsters, every movement cautious and controlled. Sir, step away from the door! Hands where I can see them! The female officer shouts. Relief crashes again into panic. Officers! Thank God, my wife, Emily. Our house is right here. She locked me out. Change the locks. She's having a breakdown, and Mike here. I gesture wildly at the house. He won't listen. Something's terribly wrong. Please help her. She's alone and terrified. The male officer, younger, keeps his laser focus on me. Sir, your name? Calmly. Ben Carter. I live right here. Please, you have to help me get to my wife. She needs me. The female officer's eyes flick to Mike's house. The upstairs window is open a crack. Mike's face is visible. He nods frantically, pointing at me, his mouth moving silently. Him. That's him. Mr. Carter, the female officer says, her voice losing none of its edge. You need to calm down. You're causing a disturbance. You're trespassing and causing distress. Trespassing? He's my best friend. My wife needs help. Check your files. Call it in. I'm Ben Carter. My voice is raw, rising uncontrollably. The frustration, the fear, the sheer impossibility of it all boils over. I take an involuntary step toward her, hands gesturing wildly. Sir, step back! Both officers shout in unison. The male officer draws his taser, not aiming, but holding it ready. Hands behind your back, now! No, listen to me! I yell, the world narrowing to the flashing lights, their rigid faces, Mike's terrified eyes in the window. I don't resist, but my body is taut wire, vibrating with frantic energy, my words tumbling out in a desperate, incoherent stream. She's my wife! The locks are new. 6 months is crazy. I was here yesterday. Mike, tell them. Tell them it's me. Place your hands behind your back, sir. The female officer moves fast, her grip firm on my wrist. The cold, hard click of the cuffs is a shock. A sound of absolute surreal finality that cuts through my panic. I don't fight, but my body trembles violently. You're under arrest for trespassing and disorderly conduct. You have the right to remain silent. The words blur. I'm guided firmly, my protest dissolving into choked gasps, into the back of the cruiser. Through the cage, I see Mike finally open his front door, talking rapidly to another officer, gesturing at me, his face still etched with pure fear. Neighbors watch from darkened windows. The station is a blur of harsh fluorescence and muffled sound. Processing passes in a haze. Fingerprints pressed to the cold scanner. The sharp tang of metal in the holding cell where they leave me, just for now. Then the door clanks shut, and silence rushes in. Panic fades, leaving behind a hollow cold that settles deep in my bones, trembling just beneath the skin. They called it trespassing, disorderly conduct. Said Emily locked me out. Said Mike was terrified. The words circle in my head. Finally, the door opens. A detective enters. He pulls up a chair. "Mr. Carter," he begins, voice calm, flat. "Benjamin Carter. That's the name you gave." He opens the folder. "Yes, that's me. Please, help me. I have no idea what's going on. Please, I'm begging you." "Who are you?" "Ben Carter," I repeat. "Drop the act. Who are you?" "Please, please." "Sir, there is no use in lying to me. We ran your prints." He slides a printout toward me. It shows 2 sets of fingerprints, one clearly labeled from the scanner moments ago. The other, "These," he says, tapping the second set, "are the prints on file for Benjamin James Carter. From his driver's license application, military records, his entire life." He looks at me, gaze steady. "They don't match." "What?" The denial slips out, weak, automatic. "That's impossible. Your machine..." "The machine is fine," he says, his voice flat. "Your prints do not match the prints of Benjamin Carter." He slides another paper from the folder. A death certificate. Benjamin James Carter. Date of death, March 12th, 6 months ago. My address, my birth date, my parents' names. Official. Sealed. This is the legal record. He slides over another document. A police report. Missing persons. Benjamin Carter. Vehicle recovered from Blackwater River. No sign of driver. Extensive search suspended. Dated 6 months ago. Then a final sheet, a property report. Complaint from Emily Carter. Subject reports repeated attempts by unknown male impersonating deceased husband to gain entry to residence. Locks changed. Security system installed. Subject described impersonator as identical to deceased spouse in appearance and voice, causing extreme distress. He closes the folder slowly. Your prints don't match Benjamin Carter's. Benjamin Carter is legally dead. His widow reports someone matching your exact description has been terrorizing her for months, trying to get into the home you claim is yours. He leans forward slightly, his voice quiet, filled with a terrible, chilling certainty. So I need you to tell me, who are you? And why are you doing this to that poor woman? The detective's words hang in the air like frozen poison. Prints don't match. Legally dead. Terrorizing her. They're facts, delivered with the crushing weight of bureaucracy. My mind scrambles, a rat in a flooding cage. This isn't denial anymore. It's pure animal panic, clawing at the bars of an impossible trap. Who am I? I echo. The detective's pitying stare burns like acid. I'm Ben Carter. That's my house. Emily is my wife. My voice rises, sharper than I mean, echoing off the cinder block walls. Can't you see? She's locked herself in there, terrified out of her mind, thinking nonsense. I need to get into that house. She needs me. She needs to see me properly, to understand it's really me. I lean forward, the metal chair scraping harshly across the floor. Take me there, right now. Unlock the door. Let me show her. Let me touch her. She'll know. She'll know it's me then. She has to. The detective doesn't flinch, but his eyes shift, hardening. That look isn't suspicion anymore. It's something colder, more cautious. Like he's watching a dangerous animal pace inside a cage. Mr. Whoever you are, he says evenly. Emily Carter is safe. She's under protection. She doesn't want to see you. She's terrified of you. Your insistence on forcing your way into her home after everything we've documented is deeply concerning. Concerning? A brittle laugh escapes me, high-pitched and wrong. She's my wife. Of course I need to get to her. Can't you grasp that? She's confused, grieving. But I'm here. I can fix this. Just take me home. My hands clench around the cold metal table, knuckles white. I can feel the rough grain of our front door, the cool brass knob. The need to be inside, to stand in our living room, to smell the faint scent of her vanilla candle, is a physical ache, a compulsion that drowns the chilling weight of the evidence. That house, it's mine, every brick. She changed the locks, but it's still mine. I belong there. She belongs with me. Let me in. The detective slowly pushes his chair back, creating space. His hand settles casually near his hip, near his weapon. As I lean further, pleading, my sleeve rides up slightly. My hand brushes against my temple, pushing back a strand of hair damp with nervous sweat. And I feel it. Not the familiar texture of my own hair. It feels wrong, thicker, coarser, almost waxy, like damp straw, not human hair. When did I last wash my hair? The question surfaces, absurd amidst the chaos. Yesterday? This morning? I lift my hand again, intending to run my fingers through it to confirm the strange sensation. My gaze drops to my wrist as I raise my arm. The fluorescent light overhead is harsh, unforgiving. It illuminates the skin of my inner wrist, normally pale and faintly veined. But there are no veins. I stare at the skin, an even, slightly waxy pallor, with no veins beneath the surface, just smooth and unnatural, like porcelain or wax. My breath hitches. The frantic energy falters. The desperate urge to scream about Emily, about the house, falls silent. Slowly, I press the index and middle fingers of my other hand against the pulse point on my neck, just below my jaw. A habit ingrained since childhood, checking my own heartbeat in moments of stress. I press hard, feel the coolness of my skin. Wait. Nothing. No rhythmic thud, no flutter, just stillness. Profound, absolute stillness beneath the slightly waxy surface. Thump, thump, I imagine it. Thump, thump. But my fingers feel only the unyielding firmness of flesh. No beat, no life. The crushing weight of the evidence, the prints, the death certificate, Emily's terror, Mike's horror. No pulse. My hand drops from my neck as if burned. I look down at my other wrist again. Sir? The detective says, cautious now, but the edge of suspicion deepens into something else. Something closer to the fear I saw in Emily's eyes. What is it? I can't answer. The words, "She is my wife," die on my tongue, hollow and meaningless. The desperate urge to get into that house curdles into something obscene, parasitic, as I slowly realize I'm the parasite. The house isn't mine. Emily isn't mine. They belong to Benjamin Carter, the man whose skin I wear. I look up to the detective, cold resolve blooming in me. I am Ben Carter. I am going home, one way or another.